Hello and welcome to Canadian Footy Fan Channel, content for fans, by fans. I am your host, Chris Talks Footy, and today I am bringing you Canadian Footy Assembly, episode number 7, Toronto Teardown. But I'm not doing it alone. I'm joined by my excellent co-host. How you doing today, Juan?
I'm chilling, man. Everything's good so far. Can't complain.
Yeah. I think we're going to have some great discussions tonight. Because unfortunately Paul can't join us, and Jordan, hopefully he can join us a little later on. But I'm sure Juan and I can go on a fair while with some back and forth and maybe some banner later on, especially when we start discussing York United.
Oh, you gotta throw in the shot already. It's only been a bit.
Yeah. I have to throw in the shots early, and I got to keep them coming often. Juan knows I'm not afraid to come out and attack the York United fans. In a friendly way.
Hey, we're ready, man. Bring it.
But yeah, a reminder to subscribe to the channel, to smash that like button, and give your thoughts in the comments section below. But let's kick this off. So first, we're going to be doing a bit of a breakdown of Toronto FC's off-season so far. And I labeled that Toronto FC Teardown because it really does seem like Toronto is continuing their teardown of the previous squad and trying to rebuild a new squad in a fairly quick fashion, considering under our last regime, under Chris Armas and Ali Curtis, they were trying to get the best out of the previous TFC squad that won, made it to 3 MLS Cup finals, won the domestic treble, made it to a Champions League final. So I'll go through some of the transfers that has happened so far this off-season to begin with. So we have Romero coming in, I believe to be a backup goalkeeper. We have Matt Hedges coming in. We have Victor Vasquez returning to the club. And we have Diamande, the new striker, rejoining Bob Bradley for this being the third time. He played under Bob Bradley at both Starback and at LAFC. On the outs, we had Quinton Westberg and Alex Bono. So both of our goalkeepers have moved on. John Neil Henry and Chris Mavinga have moved on. So there's 2 center backs. Crescito, Schaffelberg, and Petrasso have all left. And that's 3 left backs leaving the team. Also, Auro is now a free agent, so he has left the club as well. And we also traded Ifunanyachi Achara. So in total, we have had 9 players leave the team, and so far we've only brought in 4. So I'm going to come to Juan, who is a bit of a neutral with regards to Toronto FC. What do you think of the transfer moves made by TFC so far?
Honestly, I'm liking the transfer of Diamande in. I think that the fans have to be a little more understandable because he is a Bob Bradley guy. And I think that the fans were expecting of something that's a little bit more higher quality. Yeah. But I think at this moment in time, you have to bring in players that understand the system and the roles. And Bob Bradley is definitely a systems kind of coach, right? Yeah. Sure, you have your superstars that may break a couple of rules here and there. But yeah, I think Diamande is a good shout. I think Vasquez is also a good shout. He'll bring in that veteran leadership. I think he'll bring in a lot of good tips and advice to Nelson, to Okello. I think a lot of the young guys definitely need some sort of player that understands where they're coming from, because Vasquez has known the club for a while, right? Yeah. Arguably a club legend. And I think there still needs to be a lot to be done, to be honest with you. Like we were saying earlier, I think the guys need more bodies on the roster, and I don't think they can afford DP money. I think Bob Bradley mentioned earlier that they can only do as high as GAM. So for people from abroad, like I know Giroud was rumored to come in. Yeah. Somehow, did you hear this? Like someone mentioned a Benzema rumor for coming into.
I don't.
I heard that. All right, I gotta log on Twitter.
Yeah, I think people know that TFC has money, right? So if you want to do a quick rumor to somewhere that's going to pay a lot of money, that MLS seems to be it is a nice destination for aging players to come to. So I think it's kind of the default thing, similar to what LA Galaxy is like. Anytime somebody who is coming up to be a free agent, they just get linked to them. So I don't know. I agree with you. They have come out, Bob Bradley especially has come out to say that there isn't going to be ideally a third big DP like on the level of Insigne and Bernadeschi with regards to their wages. But I think they can go in for another DP, but just on a lesser wage. So it's not going to be somebody earning 12 million a season or somebody earning 6 million a season. It might be somebody earning 2.5 or 3 a season, and coming in at not too big of a transfer fee. But we can't really complain about that, to be honest. As Toronto FC fans, we spend so much money as it is. To expect the club to go in for another massive DP, I don't see that coming at all, to be honest. With regards to the incomings, in my opinion, I'm not upset. I'm happy with all 4 players that have come in. Obviously, I don't want Romero to be the starting goalkeeper, and we'll get to that later on. But coming in as a backup, he has been playing in a USL 1 as the starting goalkeeper for LA Vegas Lights, I believe that's their name.
Arguably one of the best jerseys in the league.
Yes.
They're a fun team.
Yes, they are. So I think him coming in as the backup at age 22 is perfectly fine. Hedges coming in as a starting experienced center back gives me a little bit of Drew Moore vibes. I'm happy with that. Vasquez coming in, bringing in a depth in midfield, somebody who can come in and take minutes off Osorio if needed. As TFC fans, we are aware of how light our numbers are in midfield right now and how heavily we relied on both Osorio, Kay, and Bradley last season to stay fit. And when Osorio went down and when Mark Anthony went down, we struggled. And Diamande coming in, I'm happy with. Like you said, he knows Bob Bradley's system. And I think that is important because we can all agree as TFC fans, both Jesus Jimenez and Ayo Akinola really struggled last season. So having somebody who's familiar with Bob Bradley to maybe help show Jesus and Akinola what Bob Bradley wants to do, but like actually doing it, to show them what he's looking for and to be an example for them. And I think if our strikers struggle like they did last year, Diamande, like Bob Bradley won't be afraid to go to Diamande. Bob Bradley did say that Peruzza, Akinola, Jimenez, and Diamande are all fighting out for who's going to be in game 1. And I think that's a good way to approach it. I don't think all 4 of them will still be here at the end of training camp and heading into the season. I would expect one of them to be moved on, especially if Toronto FC does look to bring in another striker and somebody who is going to be starting up top. A dream striker kind of situation, but we'll get to that a little bit later as well. With the outs,
it makes sense, honestly.
It makes sense. The only ones that I would love to have kept, obviously I rate Auro, but obviously Auro, his reputation with the club, the year that, not last season, his last season with TFC, which was the 2021 season, that debacle, unfortunately, Auro's reputation with the club did take a big hit with regards to his behavior, both on and, well, mainly off the field. But when I say on the field, it's also his behavior and attitude during training apparently was not the greatest. He was part of the so-called Spanish-speaking clique that wasn't really gelling with the rest of the squad. So I'm a big fan of Auro, but obviously it's sad to see him go on or move on, but it was definitely coming for sure. Besides Auro, obviously I rate Mavinga, but I understand he has had 2 poor seasons in a row. So if the club has decided that there was a certain threshold that they were going to keep him at, and I think it was at a significant pay cut to what he has been earning the last couple of seasons, I'm assuming LA Galaxy went in at a better offer than us. And I can't blame the guy for taking the more money, especially he's going to be playing under a Greg Vanny, the manager that brought him into TFC.
I think arguably, though, he had a comment saying, I think one of the fans left a comment on his tweet, and he was saying that if TFC offered me a contract, I don't know if it was specifically the money, he would absolutely take it. And I think he understands his role.
But that's.
You think he was just playing to the fans?
I think it's just Chris Mavinga loves to play on social media, so he's not someone that I would 100% believe that's his truth, and he's entitled to his truth. It's similar to the Giovinco, where Giovinco came out and said, "Oh, if TFC offered me a bag of popcorn, I'd come and play for them." Like, really? Like,
no, but this was like after the announcement was made when he went to Galaxy. So I don't see where the leverage came in, because he already.
Oh, I don't think he's saying it with the leverage. I think he's just trying to save face as much as he can, right? He doesn't want to be like, I took the money and went to LA Galaxy, right? But regardless, from what I'm aware, TFC were negotiating with him, so they must have offered him something at some point. You wouldn't keep negotiating with the player if you were not planning on offering them anything.
For sure.
So to me, that wouldn't really make much sense. Or maybe Mavinga said if TFC came, he says that, but maybe he had a minimum and TFC just never came to that minimum, right? And then LA Galaxy did. But all the best to Chris Mavinga. Maybe LA Galaxy has a few ex-TFC players, so maybe we can meet up in an MLS final and whip their asses. We'll see how that goes. And then obviously Crescito was probably the most disappointing one to leave, but his situation is well known. The transition did not go smoothly personally, as well as struggles with adapting to MLS. Many different factors came into this. I know somebody who's close with the Italians and their agents with regards to Bernardeschi and Insigne and Crescito at the time. Crescito was always going to be returning to Genoa. I knew that the moment that if there was rumors that he was going to be retiring, but I was told it would be more in a coaching role. But obviously he has returned to Genoa to be a player. I wish he stayed. He was on a big ticket, if we are being honest. He was on max TAM, and paying a left-back max TAM is not a usual move done in MLS. Normally, you want your backline to be as cheap as possible. And we're also paying a lot for Richie Larisey to play right back for us as well. So disappointing to see him move on. I would have liked him to stay, but all the best to him. And yes, we're going to need to definitely replace him, considering we lost 3 left backs this off-season. Obviously, Schaffelberg we didn't have last season, but his transfer was made permanent to Nashville.
I think like you're definitely right. The left back position is very weak right now.
Yeah.
I think losing Petrasso and Schaffelberg, because Schaffelberg is more of a converted left winger to left back.
He was, so, but if he was going to play, yes, he is a left winger. He isn't a left back. But if he were to stay at TFC, he'd be playing left back.
Yeah, Petrasso balled out last year.
Yeah,
that's the big loss, honestly.
Yeah.
I was surprised the club moved on from them, because it's sort of a strange situation now with TFC, where they're trying to move on from the young guys to get more vets now. But the thing is now is that there's no bodies, right? And you sort of want more young guys now in order to reach those requirements.
Yeah.
I really liked both of them, to be honest, Schaffelberg and Petrasso.
Yeah.
I think TFC went too far ahead with their planning. Like, I know they're having that win now mentality, but it's always good to have a couple guys.
For sure. I agree.
Much more younger.
The only thing I can think of is that, especially at the fullback positions, is Bob Bradley likes what we have at TFC too. We have Antonoglu, we have Goulbourne, we have Kobe Franklin can play right back. We have their 3 youngsters that I think can offer something if given the opportunity. Whether they be able to prove themselves to be MLS ready or not, I don't know. Hopefully they perform well in the training camp as well as the friendlies we have coming up in February. But to be honest, that's the only reason why I see us. I can understand Petrasso just because he wasn't going to fit in with what Bob Bradley's trying to build. He's not a left back and he's not a left winger under Bob Bradley. So,
I don't think he's gonna go into the academy though. In my honest opinion.
Oh, not to find the starter, but to for the backup, right? Because we don't have anybody to be the backup. We will need to get a starting left back. 100%. I don't disagree with that. We'll need a left back, But with regards to who's going to be backing up that left back and who's going to be backing up Richie Larea, I think it's going to be people from the academy. But we'll see. Maybe we bring in 2 left backs. Maybe. I'm going to come to Juan with this question, and I'm wanting to know, do you think Bob Bradley and Bill Manning are on the hot seat right now as an outsider?
If I had to choose either or, I think Bill Manning's more likely on the hot seat than Bob Bradley, because Bob Bradley brought all these guys in, right? They came in with understanding that Bob Bradley is going to be the guy running the program, right? He's not only the coach, but the technical director as well.
Yeah.
So for another bad season, for you to let go of Bob Bradley, now you're going to have a bunch of players that didn't sign up for this certain situation to be playing for somebody else, which would be not fair for them.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be much more easier to fire Bill Manning or let go of Bill Manning, in my opinion. I think Bill Manning is definitely on the end of a rope right now.
Yes.
I think like him and Ali Curtis, like they've been so questionable, especially Ali Curtis.
Yeah.
I'm glad that they moved on from him much more earlier than needed to.
Yeah.
But I think Bill Manning is definitely someone that's going to be in the hot seat, even if, like, I would say maybe in the offseason, if something goes drastically wrong, because like they wouldn't let him go during the middle of the season. It wouldn't make sense.
No. Not his position anyways. Bob Bradley's position, maybe. But I think Bill Manning's position, it would be like, you are not allowed to spend any more money. You can stay till the end of the season, but pack your bags. As soon as our last game is played, you're out of here.
Yeah,
and then they'll only allow him to bring in somebody to temporarily replace Bob Bradley until the end of the season. But yeah, I think you're right.
It'll be like an advisor role at first. Like, okay, we're gonna slowly step away. You'll be an advisor, and then okay, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to let you go.
Yeah.
You know,
maybe he can just focus on the Argos. No more TFC for you.
It seems like the MLSC loves just giving everybody like different jobs. It's like, hey, you want to be coach? Well, why not be technical director?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I think they definitely, with their approaches, they didn't want to have a GM. They figured between the two of them they could split the duties, which I can understand. Going more to an old school way where you used to just like GMs, especially in I follow the English football, like they've never used to be GMs. You would have the president figure, and then you would have the manager, and then the two of them would figure it out. But becoming the GM or director of football is something that's more seen around the world these days. So they went with something more throwback. But I think they are on the hot seat. Obviously, I 100% agree with you with Bill Manning being on the hotter seat, or the hottest seat possible.
Yeah.
He was responsible for what happened under Ali Curtis and Chris Arms, and it was a complete disaster. The dressing room was in shambles. The play on the field was a shambles. The fan base was a shambles. Everything was in shambles. So. And as much as my understanding was back then, Bill Manning was not as hands-on with the daily operations of TFC than he is right now. But he was still in charge. And at that time, he also still had say over the DPs. And obviously, we've had poor choice in DPs recently. I'll be honest, I'm always somebody who tends to be not as reactionary as some fans, and I am aware of that. And there's a lot of fans that wanted Bill Manning out at the end of last season. And to be honest, after how everything is gone, I can't blame them. I'm typically somebody who likes to give somebody a decent sized chance, but this is definitely his last chance. If we don't make the playoffs, they're both going to be gone, in my opinion. So making the playoffs is a bare minimum. And even then, if we make the playoffs, but we just scrape in and then we get embarrassed in the first round, Bill Manning will probably be gone for sure, if not Bob joining him. So they're both under a lot of pressure, but it'll be very interesting to see what happens going forward with them two in charge. And they've got to make sure that they get as much done this offseason as possible they can maybe leave the acquisition of maybe one player for the summer, but we can't be going into another situation where we were this time last year, where we rarely had a half-built squad and then we're just throwing academy players in it for the sake of throwing academy players in it. Obviously, you want to give academy players a chance, but in my opinion, in an ideal world, you're giving maybe 2 to 3 academy players a chance at a time until they establish themselves as first-team players. TFC was throwing in 6 or 7, so double the recommended amount that I would suggest, which is not a method of finding success, I don't think, anyways. We'll move on to further moves that TFC needs to make. But I'm going to say we need to keep this in mind, that obviously TFC is being heavily linked with free agent goalkeeper Sean Johnson. Obviously, we're very familiar with him at his time at NYCFC. The 32-year-old, I believe he is, or 33-year-old goalkeeper is still in discussions with New York City FC, was returning there. He's in discussions with TFC. And apparently there was a new offer from Anderlecht in Belgium. There was a second offer from Europe that he rejected. I believe it was playing in the Dutch division, but with one of the teams that are maybe middle table, and he didn't find that suitable to him. Different sources are saying different things. Some are saying his preferred destination is NYCFC, is to return there. Some are saying his preferred destination is Toronto FC. With Anderlecht, it is a new bid that came in, so we're not so sure of what he's going to be, what he thinks of that bid. Obviously, he did come to Toronto. He did attend the Raptors game, and typically when a player attends a Raptors game, the success rate is, I believe, 100%, except for Ronaldinho. Ronaldinho was the only one that didn't sign with TFC after attending a Raptors game.
Just trying to sell them NFTs.
And also, it is this rumor that TFC is being linked, and some of the rumors are saying that they've even signed or come to an agreement with Sigurd Rosted of Brøndby. He is a Norwegian center back. He is an upcoming free agent in the summer. Rumor has it that personal terms have been agreed. It's just they're trying to work out a suitable transfer fee with Brøndby to bring him over now rather than in the summer. Obviously, I believe TFC needs to do whatever they can to bring him in now rather than the summer. But obviously, TFC can't set themselves a poor standard by overpaying for a player that only has 6 months left on his contract. Hopefully, a deal can be worked out soon. So TFC are being linked with a goalkeeper and center back right now. As Juan and I both touched on that, we definitely need a starting left back. That is the last starting hole, in my opinion, that we have, unless we do want to upgrade the striker. But right now, as we discussed, we have nobody to play left back. So TFC has to find a left back, 100%. Whether, like me and Juan were discussing, whether we need 2 or whether we're going to trust an academy player to be the backup. And I think we can do that until the summer. And if all our youth fullbacks are proven to not be good enough for MLS level at this time, then we can go and maybe find somebody else. But we have to find a starting left back before the start of the season. What do you think? What do you say, Juan? Do you agree that TFC has to make sure that they sign a left back this off season?
Yeah, not only left back. They need they need a whole team. But left back is absolutely, I think, priority number 1. Yeah. Because your main guy, Insigne, is going to be on the left wing. Ideally, you want not a co-star, but a guy that understands when Insigne is making those forward runs, when it can join in, when to do the overlap, right? So you would want a guy that's experienced enough. You don't want to bring in a young guy not understand Bob Bradley's system.
Yeah. Especially in Bob Bradley's system, where his fullbacks have to do a lot of work because his fullbacks do push up high and his wingers do invert. And then when you're pushing up high, you're going to have to make sure you track back, or you need to know when maybe sometimes, even though your instruction is to overlap, maybe sometimes you mustn't overlap, and that comes with experience. And we show, and last season, even some of our experienced fullbacks struggled at times. Richie Larea, when he returned, he did struggle a little bit with regards to Bob Bradley's system, often not playing for such a long period of time. Crescito did fit in quite smoothly, but Crescito is such an elite player. I think his transition into MLS on the field was always going to be smooth.
Like fine wine.
Yeah, but besides that, I think, as I said, TFC, they definitely could look at getting an upgraded striker. I think if we bring in somebody new to be the starter, somebody will be leaving, whether it'll be Jesus Jimenez or Ayo Akinola. I know the fan base, going by from what I've seen, would prefer Ayo Akinola to move on to new pastures. And maybe we keep Jimenez as a utility backup forward. But TFC definitely can upgrade at the striker. Our strikers both last season struggled. Jesus Jimenez, yes, he did score a couple of goals in the first couple of games, but for 85% of the season, he did nothing. And then Ayo Akinola came back from injury after missing the start of the season, and he just could not get started. It seemed like he was stuck in second gear. He had a major ACL injury, and whether he's going to be able to come back and return to his full self, a player that relied a lot on his physicality and acceleration and pace, there's definitely some red flags there. So a new starting striker is something TFC definitely can use, but we do have depth at striker. We do have 4 players that can play there, but whether any of them are good enough to start for TFC, a team that's wanting to win MLS Cup, I'm not sure there. As we discussed earlier as well, we definitely need depth in midfield, even though we did bring in Victor Vasquez. I'm not completely sold on Nobel Okello myself. He has his limitations, and he also struggles to stay fit. So in my opinion, we need to bring in more depth into midfield. And something we could even look at doing is bringing in and using our third DP spot in the midfield. And I think that would be a smart idea because, one, Mark Anthony Kay can play left back. So if we're not able to find somebody,
I wasn't expecting that.
It's not what I want them to do, but let's just say we don't bring in a left back. Unfortunately, that is an option. But also we need to be looking at the future. We can't just spend all our DPs on expectations for this season right now. We have to keep in mind that Michael Bradley is 35.
Yeah.
Michael Bradley, in my opinion, after this season, he shouldn't be a relied on starter at all. Unfortunately, he has to be a relied on starter now because of the wage he's on. But going forward, if he wants to stay, he has to take a massive pay cut to stay. And you're going to be a leader. You're going to be off the bench. And that's something that I don't think Michael Bradley will have a problem accepting. I definitely think he wants to retire at TFC. And I think he will be willing. He won't do a Cristiano Ronaldo. He will accept his role of being a backup. But in my opinion, we should look, if we're going to look to sign maybe a young DP, look to bring in somebody who can maybe be an understudy to Michael Bradley for a season and then next season be the starter. But when he's the understudy, he's still an effective player. He definitely will still be starting games. Relying on Osorio, Kay, and Michael Bradley to stay fit the entire season, I don't think that's possible, as last season showed us. Or maybe we go sign a young DP striker, but we do have that DP slot available. And we lack depth at fullback, but like I was telling Juan, I do rate our youth at fullback. So they can maybe offer some depth there. On the wings, we could maybe use some depth there. But we do have Jaquil Marshall-Ruddy, who in my opinion should be playing on the wing, not at right back. I do not agree with the likes of Jurgen Klopp and Liverpool's training staff, as well as Arsenal's training staff. If they want to convert him to a fullback, they can purchase him and do so. And I really do rate Jaden Nelson.
Yeah.
He took big strides last year. So bringing in somebody depth winger, it's going to be taking minutes away from Jaden Nelson and Jaquil Marshall-Ruddy, in my opinion. So I would be hesitant to do that, as proven by what happened with Bustos. If Bustos was going to come to TFC, he was going to be a winger, because that's really, we don't play a number 10. And I don't think that he wanted to come in to be a backup where maybe he's not even the first choice backup, where we may want to give minutes to other players over him. If perhaps we had moved on from Jaden Nelson and Jaquil Marshall-Ruddy and were able to offer Bustos, well, if anything were to happen to Insigne, or if anything happens to Bernardeschi, you're the go-to. If we want to bring in an extra attacker, you're the go-to. I think he may have been an option for TFC then. But also shout out to Bustos' transfer was made official this past week, but we have discussed it previously, so we won't go into it too deep here today. But yeah, like you said, Juan, there's a lot of holes at TFC that they can fill.
Like
obviously, the emphasis needs to be in the starting positions. And like I said, we do need a starting goalkeeper, and we do need another starting center back. But we are linked to some players. Hopefully, we can get those through. But we have to make sure we have our starting 11 ready to go at the start of the season. We don't need no holes to start the season again. Maybe we can have a hole or two in the squad on the bench side of things, but not going into the season. There's high expectations for this club this season. They really, at a minimum, need to... Making the playoffs is a minimum. In my opinion, they need to push for top 4 in the East, and they got to show something in the playoffs as well. I'm not saying they have to win it. Obviously, the goal is to win it, but for me, I go by minimum expectations. Winning it isn't my minimum expectation. I can't go from what I saw last season to thinking we're going to win the league this coming season, but I can have hope.
How do you feel about, let's say, because I know Nelson was rumored to go to Europe and have some trials there.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Nelson coming back and playing as your left center mid? Because he had good connections with Insigne later on in the season.
I just don't see him starting over Kay, unless Kay is playing left back and we haven't signed anybody.
Well, from my recollection, Marc-Anthony Kay didn't even have the greatest season at TFC.
No, he didn't.
Year.
He didn't. But you know what? Sometimes it is what it is. Like,
I think because he's like coming back from injury too, so like it takes a while, right?
Could he take Marc-Anthony Kay's spot during the season if Kay continues to play badly and Nelson plays well? I can see that for sure happening. But to start the season, I think the goal is to be playing Bradley, Osorio, and Kay, so they're going to be doing that to start the season. Kay, he cost us a fair bit to bring him in.
Mm-hmm.
It cost us a fair bit of allocation money, a draft pick, and a young prospect in Priso, who most TFC fans really liked and had high thoughts on. So when you do that to a player, yes, he did have his struggles, but you give him, especially on the wage he's on, every opportunity to succeed, especially because Nelson isn't a long-term option for TFC anyways, right? I think the goal was maybe to move on Nelson this offseason. Just hasn't happened as of yet. So he could be leaving at the end of next season or end of this upcoming season before next season. But like you said, Juan, I can see it happening during the season. I just don't see them starting it, to be honest.
Would you say that, because like all of the midfields are currently at TFC right now, they have such unique roles. Like Bradley's going to be your number 6, right? He'll be your typical CDM. Osorio will be your 10, right?
Yes.
He'll be your creative outlet.
Yeah.
So it seems like your 8 will be where your hole is. Would you want to bring someone that's able to link up the plays together well enough? Like, for example, Nelson, I said, is like good in connections with Insigne, but I don't picture him trying to run back and collect with the.
That's the problem. Like, to me, Nelson, if he's playing in the midfield, he needs to be the most advanced midfielder. So he would be more of a replacement to Osorio, although they do play very differently.
They do, yeah.
But Nelson, I'm not going to say Nelson doesn't track back, because he always does whatever he can for the club. It's just, is he good enough defensively? It's not whether he'll put in the effort, but is he good enough defensively? He's been a winger his entire life, so he probably just has, and his entire life compared to the players he's played around, he's always been a baller. So he's never been somebody who's needed to rely on his defensive side. He'll put in the shift, but whether he's good enough defensively, I'm not too sure about that, to be honest. If we were to, like I said, if we were to bring in a young DP who's going to be an understudy to Michael Bradley, but if he were to get starting minutes right away, it would definitely be in Marc-Anthony Kay's position. I don't think Bradley's position is under threat right now. His season last year was good. Michael Bradley isn't, but when I say it was good, it's in the understanding that he's no longer is the player he once was. Michael Bradley, he has his technical ability and he has his intelligence 100%, but the little bit of acceleration and pace that he did have, and he was never known for having much of it, he has lost. Whatever he once had, that small little bit is now completely gone. Like, he's a bit of a player that he needs legs around him. So I think that's why Mark Anthony Kaye is so important, because Mark Anthony Kaye does have the legs, he does have the engine. But perhaps if we were to bring in an understudy to Michael Bradley himself, it'll be somebody who's more athletic. I would hope so, if we're bringing in a younger player who can maybe offer that and play with Michael Bradley. And then maybe that'll free up Osorio to play a more traditional number 10 instead of being a 10/8 dual kind of thing where he'll push up high, but then he'll drop very deep as well. And maybe then TFC can transition into a more traditional 4-2-3-1, which Bob Bradley has played at times, but obviously it isn't his preferred position. He does love himself the 4-3-3.
He does, yeah.
Yeah.
I just have one more question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So we're talking about the striker position, right?
Yep.
So it seems like, because Akinola and Jimenez are both they're technically good, right?
Jesus is technically okay. When we say this,
I want to hear it.
No, when I'm saying this, it's coming from an MLS standard. Like,
right.
When I say a player is good technically, if you were playing the Premier League, you'd struggle technically. But Jesus Jimenez, technically, for an MLS player, I think it's good. It's just he reminds me a little bit of Dimitar Berbatov, where he looks very uninterested at times, especially if he isn't getting involved in the play. And the way TFC play, the striker doesn't necessarily get involved. And if the striker does get involved, as in drop deep, then there's no option up top.
That's my question.
So that's the problem with Jesus Jimenez. And then now Ayo Akinola is not known for his technical ability. His first touch and passing are not even MLS average. It's below average. And it's something he needs to work on 100%. He is somebody who wants to get in the box, get in behind, be a bit of a goal poacher kind of player, as well as a player who uses his physicality and his speed. But unfortunately, his speed hasn't returned to what it once was prior to the injury. But he just was so rusty last season.
It's tough coming from an ACL.
It's tough. He just, when I look at him at the MLS's back tournament and how dangerous he looked, like he was a threat to get in behind constantly. He was bullying defenders physically. His 2021 season was okay. It wasn't great like the MLS's back tournament, but he was doing okay. Then the injury happened while playing for Canada. He was highly rated by John Herdman, and Ayo Akinola was Ike Ugbo before Ike Ugbo came on the scene. And Ike Ugbo is having his struggles right now for club. But Ayo Akinola, I think for both of them, this would be their last season. If they don't perform, then they have to be moved on. Like I said earlier, I like to give people chances, so I'm okay with giving Jesus Jimenez another chance to see how he goes. I do have my question marks whether he fits into Bob Bradley's system with regards to being the striker. And Ayo Akinola, I think he more naturally fits what Bob Bradley is wanting in a striker, as he's shown with bringing in Diamande, who is very similar to Ayo Akinola with regards to the traits that they have. But it's whether Ayo Akinola can get back to that level of being a good/great. I'm not saying get back. He never showed it on a consistent basis, but at the MLS back tournament, he showed he's a very good MLS striker. Hopefully he can get back to that. But like I said, maybe TFC wants to go in a different direction. I don't know.
So what kind of profile striker are you looking for? Are you looking for like a target man?
It would be somebody who's physical and has pace and is willing to, and maybe we can go without. It's definitely a target man / goal poacher. We're not looking for somebody to drop deep. We're not looking for somebody to create much. We're looking for somebody to finish off the chances, because our creators, that's Jonathan Osorio's job, that's Bernadeschi's job, that's Insigne's job. Their jobs are to create. Obviously, if they can, they'll add goals themselves. But whoever our striker is, it has to be somebody who's going to be a constant goal threat. Whether they need to be a target man or maybe just simply put a goal poacher who has either speed to get in behind, somebody who has pace to be a target man, but also be a target man, not in the sense of dropping deep and then laying it off to overlapping runners, but being a target man as being in the box and being a threat. So there's many different ways. So like when we were linked to somebody like Giroud and Benzema, for example, like, yes, obviously they don't have the pace to get in behind anymore, but being the physical presence, especially Giroud, I think he may offer something a little bit different to what the other strikers we have do, with his intelligence of knowing where to be at the right time. But I just don't foresee us going for those two just because of the wages they would demand. But it would be somebody like that, somebody who's going to be in the box to score the goals.
You know who I have in mind?
Who?
And I don't know how you'll feel about it. Cavallini.
I thought of it. Contract. Yeah, I thought about it, to be honest, and I have put it out on Twitter before. It's not a popular move, as you can imagine, with the TFC fan base. But
they'll never be happy.
No, he played for Vancouver, and it's sometimes you want. I think he could do a role with TFC. It depends. It depends. You know? Like he does. It's just the problem I have with Cavallini is his goal scoring. Is it going to be good enough? Like, has he ever shown to? Like, I know he had his moments in the Mexican League, I believe, before he moved to Vancouver. He had a couple of good seasons there with regards to goal scoring, but I just don't know if he scores enough. He does, like, if he was coming in to be the backup option and we were to move on from both Akinola and Jesus Jimenez, Diamande was going to be the third choice. Cavallini was coming in I believe he was a DP, but he was on max TAM, so they could have converted him. Assuming he's going to be taking a pay cut, if he's staying in MLS, I believe if he's going to Mexico, he wants similar money, or in Uruguay, he's wanting similar money. But maybe it's I don't know. I just don't know if he will score enough. He offers everything else with what he offers. I like, even the concerns you have with him getting red cards. I kind of like that in a player. I like a player who's not afraid to get stuck in. But whether you want nuts. But I don't know if I want him to be the starting striker. He proved himself that he wasn't even the starting striker for Vancouver, and they were playing Brian White over him. So
they're two different roles, right? Because with Cavallini, you'll have so much service with Insigne and Bernardeschi, and those guys, like, they come in a lot, right? So even if Cavallini doesn't score a lot, if he provides the assist to those two, it'll work. You know, you don't really need like a 100% goal scorer. You just need those guys to be involved. And if Bernardeschi and Insigne gets more goals because of that, then it's a successful transfer, like a Bobby Firmino at Liverpool.
It's just Bobby Firmino had Salah, and neither. Well, maybe in MLS it is a difference. I know, but when it comes to their European careers, Bernardeschi and Insigne were creators primarily, and goal scorers second. So I know in MLS they can score goals. They prove that they can score goals. It's just is it their natural game, and are we trying to get the best out of them as individuals? But like you said, I think Cavallini would work. It's just I don't know if he scores enough for what TFC needs. Especially if TFC decides to go with either a young DP, and if we do sign a young DP, we will have more U22 initiative players available to sign, where their salary cap counts towards. Their salary counts towards the salary cap, but their transfer fee does not. So we can pay $2-3 million transfer fee to bring in a younger player, and only their salary counts towards the salary cap. If we can do that to bring in somebody, I would like that. But it is an option. It is an option for sure. I think he would fit better than Jesus Jimenez, even though I do think maybe Jesus Jimenez can score maybe more goals. But I think Jesus Jimenez just doesn't suit. I think he just wants to get into similar areas as Insigne, to be honest. he likes to drift out to the left-hand side and to get into similar spaces, and it takes away from Insigne. And I think that's why you saw the massive drop-off from when Jesus Jimenez was playing with Pozzuelo, who was creating underneath him, to having Insigne coming in, who wants to drift in and be that inside forward, inside winger position on the left-hand side of the box. And it takes away from him, unfortunately. But we'll see how it goes. We'll quickly just touch on a couple more things with regards to TFC. And that is and this question would have been more fun if we had Jordan and Paul with us. But it's the current state of the TFC fan base. Do you have any comments as an outsider towards us, Juan? Or not really?
Be patient.
Be patient.
Enjoy what you got.
Okay.
Because I think like when you win a championship, you think every year will be like that. You know? And it's like you always want to get to that level.
And that's not how North American sports works traditionally.
I don't think that's how sports are overall. Like, sure, you'll have your Real Madrids, your Barcelonas. You'll have current winners, but those guys pay so much money for those kind of players that they're at that elite level. Like even if you look at other leagues, like there's other winners that in those leagues. Like one year you'll have a different winner, the other one you'll be a whole different one. MLS, I think it's like one of those leagues where you'll have so much variety, and TFC is a good club for that. They're always contending if they're not dead last, right? It's like, but I think that like for you guys to find a medium, like okay, we make playoffs, we're a decent club, and then you gradually build up instead of we're not contending for the MLS title, we should tear everything down again. It just doesn't make sense. It's just so bipolar, you know.
But unfortunately, that's the world we live in, and that's the world of the TFC fan base, where it's either the extreme left, which is in this situation, we'll say it's people that are, we back Bob Bradley till the end, and Bill Manning won us the championship or the domestic treble, even though he came in the season that we won it and had very minimal impact on that. And players that will never see fault in fans that will see no fault in players. And then we've got the extreme right that are get rid of everybody, sack everybody, burn it down, and start it all from the beginning again. That's the world we live in. There's no happy medium, but that's why why I wanted to make the Canadian Footy Fan Channel. It's a place for people to come and voice their opinion, even if it's an unpopular one. And the unpopular opinion I find most days is the opinion that is of something somewhere in the middle. So the TFC fan base is all over the place right now. You got people like myself who are calm, trying to stay as calm as possible, relaxed. Bob Bradley and Bill Manning came out and said that their goal was to have all or most of the players that they needed before the second camp begins, which is in early February. So I'm going to be calm until then. Obviously, if what they say and what they do are proven to be different, then I'll start to freak out more. But we have TFC fan base, and in the TFC fan base, we've had people panicking since the end of last season and haven't stopped panicking since. And I can't blame them. The last couple seasons have not been good. But I don't know. In my opinion, I can't live my life being that negative all the time. I got to be a little bit more optimistic and look at the positive side of things, or else the negativity gets to you. And places like Twitter can be a little bit of a cesspool of negativity at times.
In any part of Twitter, it's going to be, cesspool.
Yes.
I think, honestly, you guys are by the lake. Crack a cold one. Enjoy your chicken nuggets. And we'll
exactly.
Watch the talent in front of you.
Exactly. You know? It can always be worse. We could be the Vancouver Whitecaps.
Oh, man. Chris is on smoke today, bro.
And then with regards to realistic expectations, I think Juan and I already touched on that. But I think it's make the playoffs, be in a good position, and show something in the playoffs. How to quantify that in exact positioning and where, it all depends on what happens. It's too early to say that. We could lose a dodgy game in the first round of the playoffs because of a VAR or referee mistake. And if that were to happen, it's hard to tell. but we have to have a good showing in the playoffs, and we have to make the playoffs. And I think that is a minimum expectation. And as we touched on earlier, if those minimum expectations are not met, there'll be people going out the door in the very near future, or in 2023 at least. I think that wraps up our TFC talk for today. So we'll move on to our regular weekly segment where we touch on Canada soccer news and transfers, where we just pick a couple of things that have happened in the past week and discuss them a little bit further. So we'll first start off with CF Montreal signing free agent Canadian dual national midfielder Iliadis, who you played for Panathinaikos B last season. He is a bit of a box-to-box midfielder, midfield 8. As I said, he is a dual national, so he does have Greek and Canadian opportunities to represent for his national team. I think it's a bit of a solid signing. What do you think, Juan?
I think it would be like a decent replacement for Kone, right?
As long as the expectations isn't for him to replace Kone. As in be that standard. But yes, I agree.
Even if Montreal had Kone at that time, like nobody expected him to be so good, right? So like it was a diamond in the rough situation. Yes. So you can't have that happen all the time.
Yeah, CF Montreal fans, I think for sure have expectations as you had for Kone, but this time last year for Kone.
Yeah. Pretty good signing, dual national is always good, right?
Yeah.
It is going to be interesting how CF Montreal will be next year. I think they might have some CPL players. They might be doing something similar where you'll have Rhea.
Rhea came out today and said he refuses to go back to the CPL, and I can't blame the guy.
No, he balled out the last 2 years, so you can see why.
Yeah, I think they're definitely going to have a youth movement there. They also brought back Victor Wanyama as well to be a bit of a veteran leadership. But besides that, they definitely kind of have a big youth movement going there. But I think it's a decent signing. Hopefully he shows himself, and maybe he can even be an option for Canada going forward, although Canada is fairly deep in the midfield positions, but you never know, right? Who would have expected what we got from Kone? So we'll see what happens with regards to Illias.
Do you think Panathinaikos B is a suitable level for MLS?
No. I would say I don't even think the Greek league itself is. Greek league is no longer what it once was. It has fallen off in the past couple of years, especially after the Greek economy pretty much collapsed a couple of years ago in the mid 2010s. I would say MLS is better than the Greek league, if we're being honest. So
it's not even like the actual league; it's the B league.
And it's the B league. So he's coming in, but then Kone came in from I forgot what it's called. The League One of Quebec, the PLSQ.
Oh, PLSQ.
There we go. PLSQ. Yeah. There we go. It'll be interesting to see. Like you said, that expectations need to be he's coming in to be a squad player. If he comes more than that, great. If not, well, then he's met expectations.
Yeah, exactly.
And coming in on a free agent, I'm sure his wages aren't high. So it's all about being realistic. They weren't the only MLS team to make some moves. Vancouver Whitecaps officially announced the signing of Uruguayan center back Mathias Laborda, former player of Nacional in Uruguay. Solid player. I think he's coming in to be an MLS starter right away. Whether he'll be good enough or not for this level, we'll see.
He will be.
Well, we've said this about players in the past, and it's been a bit suspect. But I think he definitely can do well, 100%. Even though he is signing for the likes of Vancouver Whitecaps.
Trust me, in this household, he left so many tears because we're Peñarol fans. And seeing Nacional win broke my heart, and just seeing him lift it, I'm glad he's in Vancouver so we can cheer against them when playing in Toronto,
Yeah, for sure. Hi, how you doing, Jordan? How you doing this evening?
What's up, bro?
Thanks for joining us. Can you hear us, Jordan? Jordan, I think you're on mute. Jordan, you're on mute. We can't hear you. He looks so confused. He can't. I don't think he can hear us. I'll just remove Jordan from now. I don't think he can hear us, nor can we hear him.
It might have been the takes we had. He's like, bro.
Oh, he was so quiet. I think our hot takes silenced him.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll figure that out on the back end. With regards to like we were saying, with regards to Mathias Laborda, I think he definitely can show himself to be a good MLS center back. The only thing I do question is Vancouver Whitecaps declared themselves as wanting to be the Athletic Bilbao of Canada. They haven't seemed to be doing that at all, if I'm being honest. I think out of all the professional teams in Canada, they played the least amount of Canadians, yet they claim themselves to want to be a hotbed of Canadian talent and just playing Canadians, which is interesting.
Well, wait. I'll give them credit for a little bit of that. But if I have to be realistic, I think TFC is the bottom of that.
How many players in...
we're talking about quality minutes, too.
How many players in the Canadian Premier League came from TFC or TFC Academy or TFC 2?
Quite a bit.
Exactly.
But I think Vancouver gives more opportunities that play.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Like, you look at Ongaro, you look at the Baldissimo brothers. Like, some of those guys have a good opportunity to play for Vancouver. Even, like, Nico, he had an opportunity to play. I think he played, like, one game. He backed up for somebody.
Yeah.
So...
But yeah, I will 100%. I agree. TFC, with regards to giving academy players opportunities at the MLS level, hasn't done the greatest of jobs. But it's something I hope after last season. Obviously, I don't want us to do what we did last season on a continuous basis. But like I said, if we're giving 2-3 youth academy players at a time opportunities until they prove themselves to be established first team players, I'm 100% with us doing that on going forward. It just mustn't be 6 or 7. Or 8.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just messing up.
I know
at Vancouver. I like to take my shots at Vancouver and rile up the Vancouver fan base. But yeah, I think they definitely made a good signing here. I am a little bit envious of them. But TFC, as we do need center backs at TFC, so like I wouldn't mind Laborda coming to us. But he is going to Vancouver. So personally, as a TFC fan, I hope he flops, especially because he isn't Canadian. But we'll see let's see how that goes, that transfer goes. We'll move on. The next signing is a Canadian Premier League signing, and that is Brian Wright going to York United after playing for Atletico Ottawa. And we have our correspondent for York United here in Juan. So give us your opinion of the signing.
It's nice, honestly. It'll definitely be a depth piece for us. It's just kind of nice, in my personal humbling opinion, to see all the Ottawa fans like dismiss the signing. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, he wasn't that great for us last year. You know, he had so many opportunities but didn't take them. But he was their second leading goal scorer.
Yeah, in his goals per minute, it looked like it was ahead of everybody else.
Yeah. And honestly, like, I know we have quite a bit of depth in the striker position.
Oh, yeah.
But last year we had so many injuries. And I think Angus is right now realizing this could potentially happen again. So I think he might be possibly behind Dero and then Richie. Mm-hmm. Again, I think he will do very well with the Soul Striker system. So I think he'll have about 500 minutes here or so. But strong guy. You know, I think he'll like Toronto instead of the other place. And I'm looking forward for him to ball out.
Yeah. Jordan, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. How you doing, Jordan?
All right, perfect. Good evening, gentlemen.
How are you doing, man?
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, always a pleasure.
I'll come, Jordan. We'll jump back to TFC and get your opinion on a couple of things just now. We're just wrapping up Canada soccer news and transfers right now, and I'll actually come to you if you don't mind with regards to Julia Grosso. So it was announced that Juventus has put a record or near record price tag on her of $650,000. I believe the record for a women's transfer is $750,000. And she's been linked to Man City. She has impressed for Juventus' women's side. In my opinion, she is definitely top 3 Canadian women's players right now with regards to her performances for club anyways. It's just with country, unfortunately, hasn't always been a starter for us. Hopefully that changes in the near future. But what was your reaction to this news?
That just puts a smile to my face, and it shows just how we will be in good hands if and when Christine St. Clair retires. We will have Julia Grosso there. And I believe just showing the value that the Canadian women in general is untapped potential. And I can't wait to see where she goes from here, be it Man City or otherwise.
Yeah, I definitely... the amount with her price tag, the clubs that she can go to will be limited. But we would only want her to go from one elite club to another elite club anyways.
Yes, of course.
So, and even if she were to stay at Juventus, I'm happy with that. If she were to move on to Man City, unfortunately, I'm a Manchester United fan, so it is to a rival. So, but I'm used to having Canadian women playing for the noisy neighbors, with Janine Becky playing for them. So it is something that I am used to. So it's something I may have to get used to again. I'd be happy if she were to come to Manchester United. I think that would be amazing. But obviously we want the best for her so that she can get the most opportunities to show that she needs to be starting for us in the upcoming World Cup this year. What about you, Juan? Are you excited by this news? Or even if she doesn't move, are you just excited that a Canadian woman is being put such a high transfer price tag on her?
Yeah, it's great because honestly, right now, it's nice to see a lot of these Canadians have these moves because now you see the European level starting to put a lot of money into the women's game. So it shows that the women that we have right now are in value, and
this is long overdue.
Long overdue. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking forward because these women, are pioneers to the game now. Right, they're setting the level for Canadian women.
Yeah,
it's fantastic to see, and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna give Chris here a nice Man City Janine Becky jersey, just to support the Canadian women now. Okay.
I don't know if I can bring in anything that has Manchester City on it into my household. To be honest, it may have to stay outside.
Hey! You're on the winning side now, so it shouldn't be much of a problem anymore.
I don't know, man. I'm just with Man. I don't know. Man City are they can still win the league this year and then have won 3 in a row, which is something only Manchester United has done in the Premier League era. So I'm a little bit nervous. But it's like I either have to pick either Man City winning it or Arsenal winning it. But then again, no matter who wins it, it's going to be a rival unless we step up and win it ourselves. Maybe we can do that this season. I do not expect us to do that. But with regards to women's transfers in the women's game, Clarissa Larisey has moved from Celtic. Obviously, Celtic must have a 1 Canadian limit because 1 Canadian came in the form of Alistair Johnston, and now Clarissa Larisey is on her way out. She will be joining BK Hacken in the Swedish league. And Juan, I'll come back to you. What was your reaction to this move?
It's interesting because Celtic is a bigger club, right?
For sure.
I'm not too sure how her minutes were at Celtic. Maybe this is more of a career move where she needs to find a place.
She was a bit of a squad player. She would get game time for Celtic, but was she a starter all the time now?
Yeah, so because I know she did well for us in the national team, right? She's starting to step up in her role. Again, BK Hacken, I'm not too familiar with, but maybe it's just that move where it's like, okay, I know I'm guaranteed playing time here. I'm still in Europe. So I think that it's an intelligent move. If it works out well, great. But if it doesn't work out, then she can move to somewhere that's in similar level.
Yeah,
Hey, starting his minutes will mean a lot.
Yeah, I think for her, it's a step down in club, especially with regards to reputation. We can't argue that. But with regards to an opportunity to get starting minutes, but also I think it is a step up in level. With regards to the Scottish League, obviously your Celtic and your Rangers are of a higher standard, but then the drop off with the other clubs is quite significant. With regards to the Swedish Women's League, it is a very strong league within Europe.
Interesting.
Yes, it's not one of the top 4 leagues in Europe with regards to the Women's League, but if it comes in 6th, 5th, 7th biggest league in Europe, somewhere around there, it's definitely a better league than the Scottish League when we look at the entirety of the standard of play, in my opinion. So I think she is making a step up in level with regards to the overall league, and an opportunity to get starting minutes and push for ensuring that she will be on the plane to New Zealand and Australia later this year. So I think it's an exciting move for her. Hopefully she gets the minutes that she is looking for. But that was what we had for the Canada Soccer News and Transfer segment. But we will switch back to the TFC Teardown just so Jordan can have his say with regards to this. And Jordan, I'll let you go on a tangent. I can see you rubbing your hands.
Birdman.
So I'll give you the opportunity for the next 5-10 minutes, whatever you need. Confess your TFC fandom sins, confessions, whatever you need to do. Go ahead.
Do you guys think this transfer window has been a little bit underwhelming compared to what we were promised? Because a lot of it was built up that last season was getting Insigne through the door, and then this season, let's make all the big changes. But to this point, sure, Sean Johnson may step through the door. Bob Bradley may find another ex-LAFC person to come in and, try to pull a 2019 again. However, overall, there's not been a lot of headline moves, and I think it has a lot to do with the fact that we just had Insigne through the door and Bernadeschi through the door. So did they really paint themselves into a corner? Like, sure, we got rid of Daniel Henry. Hopefully he didn't blow a hamstring through the door. We got rid of a couple Flotsam in Westberg and Bono.
You're shameless, man. He's out the door, man. Like, let him go and do his thing in peace, man. Let him do his thing in peace, man. No shame. We need him to get minutes too, man. He's making the squad for the Gold Cup. Come on now.
No, but Jordan is making a good point, though. Unless your name is Chelsea, it's impossible to bring all these signings in one transfer window. It is so difficult. But even if we were to do it, Chelsea, we were just finishing mid-table anyways. Which is fine. It's great.
Yeah, I guess an MLS mid-table does make the playoffs, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like, literally.
But yeah, go ahead, Jordan.
But no, like Chris Mavinga as well. Him stepping through the door, hopefully in one piece, is also unexpected, but also not surprising.
No, it's not. Yeah,
because 100%. His best seasons were like at least 3 seasons ago. Before he's just been walking back and forth, the General Hospital like it's a conveyor belt.
Yeah.
But that's also due to other reasons, which is very serious, which we will not get into now. And I hope that he has the best because he was a good service person. So,
although he was part of the domestic triple winning side and a very important player to TFC. So, no matter how we feel with his form the last 2 seasons, remember the good times. He has left. Hopefully, no more incidents it shouldn't be any more incidents with him and social media with regards to our fans, anyways.
That's another thing that I was going to talk about. That inconsistency he has was not really left a lot to be desired.
Yeah,
and I think it showed a little bit of his disgruntlement towards the management and how the club saw him the last little bit.
Yep.
So I think this was also to be expected, and
Mhm.
hopefully going back to Greg Vanny will give him the resurgence he needs.
Yeah.
So I applaud what he has done for us. Coming in now, we signed a 34-year-old central defender who was probably top 5 center back in the league 2 years ago.
Yeah.
We are planning to sign another guy from Sweden, I believe.
That is correct.
Yep.
Sigurd Rosted.
Yes, Rosted, yes. I don't know too much about him, but apparently it was due to a Bob Bradley connection, which I hope will bear fruition. And we got the off-brand Diamond coming to our club, and I'm yet to see what else we can really do besides shipping out Akinola out the door, and then bringing somebody to actually start in that position that we still need, unless Jesus Jimenez can really step his game up.
For sure.
Up to now, we really haven't seen what the real direction is up to this point, and I'm just asking myself, what are we really going to do between now and the end of the transfer window?
For sure.
Because we had the whole World Cup to see who we can get at a fairly bargain value that may not shoot up. And for the most part, it's been crickets for the most part. And me as a fan, I'm like, come on, guys, we really need to build up this upcoming season. Maybe not with a big splashy move at the third DP spot, but maybe with anything to show progression.
For sure.
And to this point, I haven't really seen too much. And yeah, I'll leave it at that for now.
No, I get where you're coming from, Jordan. I'll just say this, and it's what I preached earlier. But Bob Bradley and Bill Manning, from I believe the summer of last season, have preached that the goal for this season was to have all the parts in before second camp started. So I am going to give them the benefit of the doubt till that point, because that is what they have said. But when what they say does not meet what they do for the second year in a row, then I'm going to have my concerns. But I'm going to try and be as positive as I can until then, which is probably 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And we definitely need a left back. We definitely need another center back, but we are linked, as we mentioned. We do need another goalkeeper, but we are linked to Sean Johnson, as we mentioned. But we do need something in midfield, at least one more option. We may need some more options at fullback, including a starting left back. We may need a change up front. Up front, we do have the bodies. We do have 4 strikers, but as I said earlier, I don't even know if any of them are good enough to start for us, which is not a good sign going into a season, but it might be something we have to do. I'm not too sure. But like you said, we don't know what direction that the club is going in. And I think that is causing a few issues with the fan base. It isn't, although it's not something they'll ever come out and say for the most part, unless we've already sold a player. But TFC isn't going to go out there before moving on X player or Y player and say we're going to bring in a starting striker, because that's just going to decrease the value of Io Akinola and Jesus Jimenez, whomever we were going to be moving on if we were to bring in a starting striker. But it would be nice to know that what the club is doing, whether it's through leaks or through pressing the media. But we don't know what they're wanting to do up top, except Bob Bradley coming in saying Peruzza, Akinola, Jesus, and Diamande are all battling for the job, and it's up for grabs. That's all we know. We don't know what they're looking to do in midfield. We don't know what they're looking to do long-term in midfield with Michael Bradley being 35. We need to look at replacing him long-term. There's a lot of questions with regards to TFC right now. We're not even linked to any left-backs that I'm aware of, and we need a starting left-back.
Explain to me Crescido's retirement. Was that just him retiring from MLS and going back to Italy, or?
It was him going back to Genoa, but not entirely sure as what, from what I know.
Oh,
and
okay.
I know somebody who is close with the agents of the Italians, So his goal was to go back to Genoa. At the time that I had conversations with said person, it was to be in a more coaching kind of role back at Genoa, but then the opportunity came up for him to return as a player at Genoa. So he was only going back to Genoa. It wasn't like it was a fake retirement, as in he just wanted to get out of his contract and go anywhere else. His goal was to go back to Genoa. It just ended up being as a player for now. But yeah, it was. And I know some TFC fans were upset, saying, "Oh, he left for free," when TFC could have gotten. He retired, and technically all he did was leave for free. But before he retired, TFC and Crescito mutually terminated the contract, so that obviously TFC wasn't liable for the contract no longer. So I think it basically, it's like it was kind of like a buyout, but not really, because he retired. Like, I think it was all to get through the MLS loophole so he could just go back to Genoa, to be honest. It just happened to be as a player. But it gives us another position to find a new player that we weren't planning on finding. Obviously, long-term, we needed to find a left back because Crescito only had the 1 year left. But yeah, it's a massive hole in our squad now. Especially with Larea. We don't even know what's happening with Larea. That's another question we have. Is Larea staying past July?
Well, Serge Aurier is still playing Nottingham Forest. There's no place for Larea on.
Yeah, but Nottingham Forest could be relegated, and they may be needing a starting right back in the Championship.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Because you think Serge Aurier is going to the Championship? I do not see that happening whatsoever. He will be exiting stage right, especially at the wages that I'm sure he is on.
But if I was Larea, I'd be feeling a certain kind of way.
If I'm Larea, you're sending them spam emails, man. You're just sending you know how you send your friends all the best memes and all the best gifts? He's sending them the worst of them, man. The ones that he does not find funny at all, he's sending that to Nottingham Forest, man.
Larea can literally say, "Oh, so you brought in a right back who national team didn't even make it to the final round of World Cup qualifying, and here I am starting all 3 games, and you guys didn't even take a look? Come on, man, get out of here, move."
It's true.
Yeah, but I'm glad what happened to Richie Larea has not happened to Alistair Johnston. Thank goodness.
All-Star Johnston.
Yeah, All-Star Johnston. Yes, not Alistair, All-Star. Jordan, I'll ask you one more question to round it up. What are your expectations for TFC going into the season? What is the minimum expectation? And if said minimum expectation is not met, what needs to happen?
Right now, my minimum expectation is to hopefully figure out what the expectation they have for this upcoming season. But no, on a serious note, my expectation is at least be in the top half of the table.
Okay, so it's making the playoffs.
With the amount of talent that we have, with a full training camp, being able to work with Mark Anthony Kaye, Jonathan Osorio, and Michael Bradley all together, having Jimenez, who might be the default starter, because I don't think that 4-way battle is much. It's more like a wet noodle contest. So by default, I think Jimenez starts. So I think him having a full offseason working with the tendencies with Bernardeschi and Insigne will help him out a lot, because I think there was a lot of communications problems when they were out in the field for the first time. So I'm hoping that will change with a full offseason and they can really click. Jonathan Osorio, I hope he doesn't do this whole contract. I got my new contract. Let me have my points and stats go all the way down. Because every time he gets a new contract, his stats go way low. He turns into a number 6. He doesn't play like the 8 that he actually is. But that being said, Jonathan Osorio is one of the smartest players on the field.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I hope by the beginning of the season we actually have a full back line ready and sorted, and we know exactly what's going on there.
Yeah.
So I know my initial thing was a bit of a joke, but also realistic, because we want to know what the starting 11 is going to be day 1, and then we'll know what to expect going in, and then the pieces will fall as it may.
For sure. And if these minimum expectations are not met,
go York United.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm praying for the downfall.
I was like, yo, where's Caden Chung at?
I like
Oh, no. Juan doesn't want Juan, you want for me TFC to do well, and because if they don't, I'll be on that Forge train even louder.
That's cool. That's fine. I mean, hey, if one of you go to Forge, there's 10 of us going to York.
Yeah,
so I'm cool with that.
Okay, we'll see.
Yeah, we're right across from York
see.
Lions Stadium, so I can watch the game anytime I want.
But I think that's going to wrap it up for us today. But before we leave, Juan, I'm going to come to you. Do you want to tell us a bit of the special project that you're working on at the moment?
Yeah, I just finished recording an episode for my career mode for York United. I finished implementing the kits, the players, all the club details into the career mode. That took me a while. So expect that in a couple of days' notice. I'm also trying to finish up Calgary and Halifax as well. Just check out my YouTube channel. See how you like it or not. If you do, subscribe. So
yeah, sure. I'm very excited for this project, so I'm looking very much forward to seeing it. Hopefully, no one says he needs to just edit the first episode. I'm really, really, really excited for that.
It's just gonna be like welcome to Wrexham.
Yeah, welcome to Wrexham, but York United into MLS. So it'll be interesting to see.
It'll be a less handsome owner. Definitely less richer.
Less Welsh.
I'm sure. Yeah. There's no Deadpool action going on here.
No Deadpool. No. We got to figure out what Juan's superhero character is in this career mode.
Oh, that'd be a good question.
We'll have to figure it out who his superhero alias is. Also, before we wrap up today, with regards to some future episodes that we're wanting to do. So we are wanting to do a similar conversation with regards to Montreal and Vancouver, just so we can get, as I keep saying, the Canadian Footy Fan Channel is a place for people to come and give their opinions. So if we're talking about a club, we obviously want their fans to have a say in that. So next week, I think we're going to be doing the Montreal episode. But if you are a Montreal fan and you are a listener or viewer, make sure you hit me up if you're interested in joining us for next episode. I'd love to have you on just so you can voice your opinion and make us more knowledgeable of what your club is doing this off-season. Because to me personally, as an outsider and a rival, it's a complete shit show, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
It looks like a fire sale.
Yeah, it's everything, and even the coaches are coming and going within 24 hours. So if we can get a Montreal fan to let us know what they're doing, if they can see the method to the madness, it would be greatly appreciated. I want to thank my co-hosts for joining me, Juan and Jordan. Jordan came in the last moment, but to give us some thoughtful insight, I do appreciate you making the attempt to join us this evening. Make sure you give them all a follow. Their links are in the description below. As Juan mentioned, he does have a YouTube and Twitch channel. Those links are in there, as well as both Jordan and Juan's Twitter links. Thank you to all the viewers and listeners for joining us here on Canadian Footy Fan Channel, content for fans by fans. A reminder to subscribe to the channel, to smash the like button, and to give your thoughts and opinions in the comments section below. I have been your host, Chris, and we're signing out.
Cheers.